Chatechesis with a little bit of chat, a bit of a light approach perhaps, but at the same time with a view to deepening our faith, not too L-I-T-E, but lighter might be the word. So nice to have your company. Shout out to everybody there on Facebook and YouTube Live as well. Many thanks for joining us, and I know a number of people like to look back later on Facebook and YouTube just to catch up by way of kind of quasi-television viewing, so thanks for joining us here. And you don't see much apart from myself really, and this little statue of Our Lady behind me. The candle lighting, the Bible is there as well, just by way of effects. We'll just move the frame a little bit for those who are watching now. If I move it in this way a little bit, you might balance things a bit better. I don't know. So, good to have your company. And again, if you have a smart TV, you're welcome to watch in there too. Please do send in your comments, send in your questions, send in your reactions, and share with us. 089 467 2000 is the text and WhatsApp number. Give Mary a call on the phone, 014 123 456. Email info@radiomaria.ie and write to us, St. Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22. Now, many of you enjoyed the chat I had with John Carlin yesterday. John, of course, is a chartered accountant, runs an accountancy firm, and he volunteers his services by way of accountancy for Radio Maria, free of charge. And we have another wonderful gentleman too who volunteers his services by way of security, free of charge, to the studio as well. And for that, we are so immensely grateful to have these professional people offering their services to help us to the real sharing of talents and resources. So delighted with that. And John very kindly volunteers much of his time as well to oversee and supervise and to drive on and lead the great work of Radio Maria, as you've heard. So if you want to listen back, that video is available on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. You can have a listen in, and of course podcasted on our website. There's other lovely items worth listening back on. Just to note for your reference, Father Billy Swan gave us a lovely, insightful and well composed breakfast show talk this morning in relation to the whole question of the destruction of unborn life in the womb and the great and sad situation we have in Ireland, where it's legally permissible to destroy unborn life. And this is so sad. And the effects it's having upon us, and some of the narrative that went around that, and some of the way that this was pitched towards the Irish people to vote in favour of it, and now the situation we find ourselves in. So Father Billy, I thought, approached it with great clarity, with sensitivity, but also with a real light of truth, bringing it into the light of truth dispassionately is probably the right word to describe it as, that we can, and this is one of the things we like to avoid on Radio Maria, is generating heat and passion and emotion about these things. Not that we don't have any emotion, we certainly do, and we are passionate about these things, but there's a way of guiding and directing the emotions and the passions like a laser light. You can kind of have a great bust up and a great blowout and a great discharge of passion through anger, but it ends up hurting and damaging people all over the place. So this is something we certainly seek to avoid doing, is pointing any fingers or pointing any blame or laying, sort of exercising people's minds and hearts by imposing a kind of guilt. That approach in the long run is not effective. And it tends to alienate people. Rather, when you bring things quite soberly and quite matter-of-factly and dispassionately, as I say, into the light of the gospel, the light of the truth, then we can begin to examine and look carefully and see, well, what is really happening here, what's really at stake, what is taking place, where are the contradictions here, and there are many. And when you simply declare the truth openly and clearly, it just helps us to form our minds and hearts, but also hopefully too to begin to take concerted action, appropriate action as well. And when you name it for what it is, just the taking of unborn life, the destruction of innocent unborn life, what a monstrous tragedy such things are, over and above all of the other many great injustices that are taking place today. And in the light of the great energy that's been poured into preserving life and protecting life and safeguarding us from the virus and so many other things, we see huge energy being poured into this side of things, and we wonder, then we're left asking good, deep, important, honest questions. What is being done about these other areas where life is being lost? When we see, since the legalization of the destroying of unborn babies, 13,000 and more lives have been lost. This goes far beyond, the pandemic and all these other things and all these. That's not to undermine or do away with these questions too. They're all important, but how are we balancing our attention and our focus and is the message and the information not being allowed to be heard and received? So again, dispassionately, without pointing any fingers, but really exercising ourselves into some form of realization of the truth, and then by way of some reaction to it as well, building a culture of life, seeking to celebrate a civilization of love, but authentic life, authentic love in the light of eternal life and eternal love. So have a listen back to Father Billy, and it'll be repeated, of course, usually Sunday morning as a repeat breakfast show, and it'll be available, of course, as a podcast as well if you want to listen back. Another lovely interview now that you will hear again. I'm not sure if it's been podcasted yet, but Father John in his book club is going to be reviewing with guests on tomorrow week the lovely book about the life of Sister Clare Crockett. And Father John was visiting the grave last week of Sister Clare in Derry and met the sister of, one of the sisters of Sister Clare, and got a lovely spontaneous interview with her there, about 20 or 25 minutes. And we've played it a couple of times now already, and just some lovely feedback flowing in to that as well, and really anticipating and looking forward to Sister Clare's story in the book there. And the movie that's out in regard to Sister Clare is a fascinating, lovely telling of her story too. So that's right from the family, right from the heart there, and watch out, that'll be played again most certainly. And it'll be tomorrow week that Father John will be speaking of and reviewing for you on the book club at 4 o'clock, Thursday, the 22nd, the story of Sister Clare Crockett. So have a listen back to that. Again, I'm not sure if it's podcasted. I'm leaving all of that wonderful work in the hands of Eva and Tara and anyone else who's involved in podcasts there. I think Andrew might be doing a bit of it lately too. So do check that out and do follow it through. So it's great, isn't it? And we've had some lovely text messages into us as well, just expressing exactly that point and sharing with us that lovely feedback. I'll share them with you as well. Anne says, what a blessing to start my day with the breakfast show. Every day a school day of the Lord. Then the day continues, bringing so many varied topics, all informative and encouraging growth, especially of the Spirit. So wishing graces and blessings on everyone. So thank you, Anne. That's a lovely message to receive. And Kathleen then texted in as well. These two just came in for us this morning. Hi, Father Eamonn and all your staff. I love listening to Radio Maria. Just want to say thank you for the good variety of topics and music. There you are. That's from Kathleen. So the very same spirit animating the same feedback from two different persons there. Isn't that nice? So this is our hope, indeed, to animate your day, to fill your day, indeed, with these wonderful variety, as we say, and interesting areas in relation to our faith and our ongoing formation. And lots of different voices, of course, as well, to share with you. St. Camillus de Lellis today. Where's my little buke here? This liturgical calendar, which I use. Just hold that up for you there. Very useful reference guide. So for Wednesday, he's optional. And my practice for what it is, I mean, we could celebrate memorials of saints nearly every day. There's so many. We've St. Bonaventure, of course, tomorrow, and Our Lady of Mount Carmel on Friday. And I'm hoping, just organising it at the moment, that please God, We will have a Carmelite priest join us on Friday morning for a chat after morning prayer. I look forward to that, explaining and sharing with us, of course, the story of Our Lady of Mount Carmel and all the wonderful spirituality of the Carmelite religious order. Looking forward to that, please God, on Friday morning. So St. Camillus, so when it's an optional memorial, yesterday was St. Henry. Maybe the saints won't be too happy with me for not giving them the precedence perhaps they deserve. So I tend to stick with the liturgy of the day, in other words the Psalter and so on, just for continuity, as indeed the readings at Mass of the day too, rather than become diverted by all the optional memorials of saints. And nonetheless, we give them a little shout out here. We include them in our prayers, certainly when their saints' days occur, and include their stories. So St. Camillus de Lellis is his name. The year 1614 was when he died. Interesting story, a founder of the Ministers of the Sick, and born in the Abruzzi in Italy, joined the Venetian army to fight against the Turks. The Turks were invading, I suppose, Lepanto and all those episodes in history. He was an exceptionally tall man, 6'6". That's a big man now. He'd make the basketball team. In fact, in the basketball team, that's probably on the average height. Some of these huge basketball players. He was hasty in temper and an inveterate gambler. There's an interesting saint for you now. Bad-tempered and a gambler. He contracted an incurable disease of the leg, and in the year 1574 and 5, he lost everything in gambling, as invariably happens for resolute gamblers. It often is the case that they have to really hit the bottom and just really hit, for a reality check to weigh in. As I always maintain, when it comes to gambling, that bookies' offices and these gambling places, casinos, these slots and all these things, none of these places are in business to lose money. It's you as the gambler, whoever it may be. I'm not you in general now, but as the poor gambler who's drawn into these places quickly realizes, that even I think it's legally they're obliged to have it in writing somewhere, the payout rate on these machines that people gamble on, and it might say 74% or whatever the percent is, but that for every euro you're putting in, you're at best you're getting 74 back. But it could be you. It could be you. It more than likely will not be you. As I said about the lottery ticket, don't even bother. So gambling, and that's, on a more serious note, it's a terrible, terrible affliction, and it brings just great hardship to the individual, but especially the family members, and it can lead to a very wayward life. So poor St. Camillus de Lellis was on that path. He lost everything in gambling, but experienced a religious conversion and tried to be a Franciscan, but his health prevented him from being professed. And instead he joined the hospital of San Giacomo in Rome, where he eventually became the bursar. Isn't that interesting? They trusted him with the money. Excuse me. How did they know he wasn't going to take it and gamble it? He must have really proved himself by a holy life. In association with his advisor, St. Philip Neri, tremendous saint as well, Camillus, who had become a priest, founded in 1585 a congregation of male nurses who bound themselves to serve the plague-stricken, the sick in hospitals or their homes, and the prisoners. In 1595 and 1601, interesting, the year when Oliver Plunkett was martyred. That'll give you a sense of where we are in the history book. Some of them served on the battlefield in Hungary and Croatia. Some of the male nurses. The first recorded examples of a military ambulance unit. So they were out in the front lines. Brave men. Nursing, that is now. In Rome and Naples, they founded hospitals and served the galley slaves. If you're familiar with galley slaves, these great ships had galleys in the lower decks where the slaves were chained and forced to row and to attend to the needs of the ship in sailing in its journey as slaves. So they attended to those slaves, in which, of course, they would have been terribly neglected, and I'm sure the sailors would have been glad to let somebody else look after them. A really unpleasant, I'm sure, task. In both places, some of them lost their lives through contracting the plague from their patients. It's great faith. They had no fear of contracting a virus. He was a pioneer in insisting on fresh air, suitable diets, and isolation of infected patients. Does that sound familiar? We're talking about, having a balanced diet, plenty of vitamin D, vitamin C, and fresh air, keeping the windows open, plenty of that around too, and isolation. If somebody is infected, that is, not isolating the healthy, but isolating the sick. And he lived to see his institute number 15 houses and 8 hospitals. In spite of suffering a variety of serious illnesses himself, he spared no effort in tending the sick personally right up to the end of his life. And he died at Genoa, was canonized in 1746, patron both of nurses and of the sick. There you are. So St. Camillus of Lellis, St. Camillus de Lellis, pray for us and pray for all who are sick, and certainly pray for all our nurses and our dear frontline staff, as we like to call them now. So it is nice to remember the saints like that, even if we don't liturgically celebrate them or have them up front and centre. We just keep them before us, and as you know in Radio Maria, we do like to have little saint moments here. Saint of the week, of course, is our good friend Sabrina, who shares with us too. A nice little thought too. And I don't mind if there's a little bit of overlap, repeat, if somebody happens to pick the same saint. We have that in the breakfast show regularly too. Our hosts will pick the saint of the day and give their version of events, and I'll usually do a little bit later on as well. I think that's good. You get different variety, different perspective on things too. So very good. Pope Francis, speaking of those who are sick, is having to spend a few more days in hospital. I saw a lovely picture of him yesterday, actually, in his wheelchair and dressed in all his white, of course, but heading around the hospital, the Gemelli Hospital, and visiting patients. And as you know, on the balcony, was it last Sunday, for his public, he had his public audience that he would normally have, and some of the sick children in the hospital were there with him on the balcony. Lovely idea. And I saw pictures online as well. I think the Vatican News website had pictures of some of the lovely drawings children had done, wishing the Holy Father well and asking their prayers for themselves too, of course, because they're sick in hospital. Isn't that fabulous? Very nice. So, nice to see the Holy Father making use of his convalescence, as far as his energy allows, I'm sure, to visit the sick, something very close to his own heart. I don't know how serious an operation is to rectify diverticulitis colon ailment, but I'm sure it can be none too pleasant and painful at the same time. So he's completed the course of his post-surgical operation treatment and will remain in the hospital a few more days in order to best optimize the medical and rehabilitation therapy, as that makes a lot of sense, really. No point in being in the Vatican and being in need of medical assistance. In his daily medical bulletin, the doctor who's looking after him, would you want to be that doctor, you don't want to let the knife slip in that case. The Pope, before the recitation there, the Pope met with patients of the nearby oncology ward with members of their families. Oncology is those suffering from cancer. The patients later accompanied the Pope on the 10th floor terrace for the Angelus, which is lovely. How bad is that? Next to the Pope there, as he's addressing and praying with people. So the Pope greeted then afterwards patients on the floor, talking briefly with the medical and nursing staff, and he celebrated Mass and later in the private chapel with the staff who assist him daily. Kind of a lovely privilege, that. So the statement concludes, noting that the Pope shared his joy with those around him over the victory of the Argentine and Italian national football teams. What Argentina, I don't know what competition they're playing, wouldn't have a clue. And apparently, I only heard about it afterwards, Italy beat England in penalties in the European Championships. I'm afraid not my particular interest, so I had to be told all that. Didn't see a single second of it. At any rate, for our friends in Radio Maria Italy, no doubt celebrating. Yeah, I know how the Pope, how that figures with the Pope. I remember a Polish football team who came to meet Pope Francis, or not Pope, St. John Paul II once. And of course, he was a goalie and an avid football fan. But I say it's an interesting question to ask. I mean, if and supposing, the Pope is interested in football and he happens to support Italy or Argentina, is he acting ex cathedra in that case? Obviously not. Obviously not. In other words, is his teaching infallible that the whole world should support Argentina or Italy? No. Don't be silly. It's kind of a frivolous question, maybe. But if it helps us understand what it means to speak ex cathedra, that is from the chair, we have our little moment with the Bishops of Ireland from the chair every Monday here on the radio. No, when the Pope teaches ex cathedra, it means he's speaking in relation to faith, questions of faith and dogma and morality. And he does so in communion with all of the bishops around the world in the church, So no, if he has a particular interest in a football team, well, you can support your own team. No need to worry about that. So he offered his thoughts, though, on the meaning and value of sport and on the capacity of sporting activity to be able to accept any result, even defeat. And that's simply part of the journey. It's actually good for young people and children and those in formation to experience defeat and to realize that defeat is something that shapes us, informs us, and teaches us in many ways. Failure is actually not such a bad thing at times. Sure, it's nice to be successful. If all we ever know is success, then when defeat comes, we're in for a pretty rude awakening. Whereas defeat can, and failure at things, for instance, if you're learning art or you're learning music, you make a gazillion mistakes before, you perfect and fine-tune the ability and capacity. Sport teaches us the very same. Only in this way, defeat, the Pope says, in the face of life's difficulties, can one always put oneself on the line, fighting without giving up, with hope and trust. Very simple message, yeah. Defeat is simply, and failure is just part of our nature, part of the struggle, part of where we are at with things, and it teaches us. It teaches us endurance. It teaches us patience. It teaches us fortitude. And these are great virtues. These are terrific virtues to have, because even the small victories then, and in the small defeats that lead us to the smaller victories, we're ready then for greater challenges, and even are not dismayed by greater defeats. And when success comes, or victory comes, we can treat it as a gift, as a blessing, as a reward certainly too, but not wallow in it or rub other people's faces in it either. That would be a very wrong, that kind of pride in success, that, self-aggrandizement. It's a baneful thing, is a word I remember in a prayer once, that we attribute and give credit to God and to all around us who help us to success. I mean, if it is that Radio Maria is proving a great blessing and quote-unquote successful, it's simply by the grace of God, and it's by the cooperation of any number of people. Because some of us happen to be at the microphones, that's a rare privilege and a great gift and a blessing to rejoice in. But the quote-unquote success, I mean, how do you measure these things anyway, is a grace, and a fruit of grace, and a fruit of labour, and the fruit, I might say, of plenty, no shortage of challenges too. So all praise goes to God in these things. Now time for a little musical interlude, and I might just say a little happy birthday and play this particular request to Leo, for Leo in Nina. Leo is, I think we think between us, Leo, that you're 97 in the nursing home in Nina, and Leo rings us up on a regular basis and lets us know what's on his mind, and certainly has plenty of great ideas, and he gets great care, I know, from the staff in the nursing home there in Nina. So happy birthday to you as we play you a nice track from Andrea Bocelli. And just before I do, again, please text us 089 467 2000 and get in touch with us here. WhatsApp, of course, as well. Put a +353 in front of that if you're in the north or outside of Ireland. 89 467 2000, and email info@radiomaria.ie. Very simple. And give us a call. Why not give a ring? You might have a prayer intention, maybe a music request too. There's little enough room to squeeze all those in. The music items, that is, because there's so much else going on. But we do our best to try to include it, certainly. We get some loads of requests here. But the number is 014123456. Very easy to remember. Just put it into your smartphone. Write it down somewhere where you have it handy. And if you have the Radio Maria literature anywhere nearby, all of those numbers and all those contact details are there as well. By all means, write to St. Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22. Drop a comment as well. Share, like, follow, subscribe on our social media. And many, many thanks. There's been a number of people who phoned in the last number of days and are pledging to take up a standing order with us. We're so, so grateful for that. That's such a great assurance to us and a real demonstration of your faith and your love for the radio here, and the best way really of supporting us in the long run, because we can begin to budget for some of our costs a little bit more easily there as well. So thanks to John Joseph Morgan, to Vincent Hayes and Gurpreet Gur. You're all watching here on Facebook, so shout out to you all. Thanks for getting in touch. So from our CD, The Best of Andrea Bocelli, Vivere it's called. We're playing the title track, Vivere. It's a duet with Laura Pausini. So many thanks to Jerome looking at the mixing desk there. All right, Jay? Yep. I hope I don't switch it off now. Let's see. Oh, go on. Okay. It's just got the radio on there, or the television. Well, yes, yeah, it's picking up the music now, and it's up about halfway. I just dropped it down a bit; it was too high. Yeah, about 65. No. Sure. Sure. Well, no. I can put my hand up and say that I changed it because of remember the problem with the double mic. You were saying that wasn't working at all. No, remember that just the sound level was very poor when we put in the double mic. Remember that? Because I was on Roisin there a couple of weeks ago, and you, no, but we did. That's the thing, and yet the sound quality was still poor. Okay. Sure. Great. Sure. Good. Great. Thanks, Shane. Lovely. Still on okay. I'm just checking our sound levels here. That's what all that was about. Hope it's okay. I'm not seeing anything now. Very good. Thanks, Jerome. I'll just turn that off there, so just winding down. Very good. Thanks, Jerome. So lovely to have you back again. Thanks for that lovely piece of music. For Leo in Nina, celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Leo, again, a great fan of the radio and a regular listener as well. And has his own little do not disturb sign, apparently, for the door of his room in the nursing home when he's live on air joining us for the Rosary. Nice one. So that was Dare to Live, a duet with Andrea Bocelli and Laura Pausini from the CD Vivere, the best of Andrea Bocelli. Now, thanks for your company here on Radio Maria, and lovely to have you with us. Do please get in touch. Do please send us in your messages as well. He's 98. Goodness gracious me. God bless you, Leo. 98 years of age. You're an extraordinary man. You could well yet be around, Leo, for the anniversary of St. Patrick. When is that? 2032, I think. He was anticipating that some time ago. At the rate you're going, you're as good as Moses now. And who do we have lately in the scriptures? Abraham, I suppose, was 100 and, what was he, 120 or something? So keep going, Leo. God bless you. You're a mighty man. Mighty man. Fair play to you. Very good. No, great indeed to be with you, and great indeed to have your company. Pope Francis, apparently it is said, I don't know if it's affirmed just yet, is due to visit Scotland in November. It says it's a very brief visit, though. This is coming from the Bishops' Conference of Scotland. You know, the way when he's planning a visit, he normally wouldn't kind of anticipate it, you know, except within months of the visit, because he just don't know, he doesn't know how long or how well he'll be or how able he might be to visit any place. It says here, while many pastoral, ecumenical and interfaith gatherings would be desirable while he is with us, time constraints sadly mean that such a full program will not be possible. Remember the last time a bishop or a pope came to Scotland was Pope Benedict. I think it was the year 2010. He visited with the Queen. I thought it was just a perfect historical moment. A German pope meeting a British monarch, and the head of the Church of England meeting the Pope of the Catholic Church. Most extraordinary moment. And it was at that, I think it was at that gathering at Balmoral that the Queen of England expressed her thanks to Rome, to the papacy, for its part in helping to and the Catholic Church for its part in helping bringing peace to Northern Ireland. It was just a tremendous historic moment. So God bless the Queen in that full sense. Now, I mean, you know, it's extraordinary moment in history. So here we are, Pope Francis, speaking of a possible visit then to Scotland. What else does this tell me? The Vatican has made no official announcement, however, about the Pope travelling to Glasgow in November. Pope Francis is currently recuperating in a hospital, so obviously at the moment they cannot be definitive about it. Having written to the Holy Father to assure him of a warm welcome should he attend the conference, the Scotland's bishops said they're delighted to hear that he does hope to attend and would be glad to meet with them in Glasgow. What's the conference? Let's see what's going on. I think it's a conference of scientists and leaders of world religions ahead of COP26. Okay, I'm not sure what all the details behind all that are, but at any rate, it seems like a moment that Pope Francis is willing to share. I wonder, is he en route to somewhere else maybe as well? That's quite possible. Anyway, that's from CatholicNewsAgency.com if you'd like to find out any more there, certainly. So, by all means. Just a little shout out there. Aidan has put another thing in front of me. I don't know if you've come across The Chosen. I've watched the first few episodes of the first season, and apparently now it's heading into its fourth season. It's a crowd-funded series, and based on Bible and Scripture, and it's faith-driven and faith-based and faith-watched, I suppose, too. So it's has nearly completed its funding for a third season and will soon raise funds for season 4. So this is altogether apart from Hollywood and any of the commercial type approaches to movies and cinema and so on. Entirely faith-based. Very interesting. I want to pick it up again. I just haven't got around to it. I haven't had time to follow through on it. And as I say, I only watched the first few episodes. They say it takes a few episodes to get into it. Maybe I only watched 2, had I. But it's a kind of depicting, dramatising in its own sort of gentle way and filling out, I think, in an imaginative way, the story of sacred scripture, and just introducing the various characters of the apostles and so on. I had reservations myself about 1 or 2 of the early scenes that just, I didn't warm to them. One of them was Mary Magdalene, the idea that that Jesus went into a local bar, a tavern type of setting, and was at the bar counter and met her there, kind of thing. That sounds pretty. You'd have to watch. It's not so as bad as you might imagine it in that sense. Way I'm wording it there. But I just didn't warm to that idea. That just didn't. I suppose just imaginative maybe of sorts, and it was well acted and so on. No, that just didn't click. There was one other thing as well. Oh yes, there was an episode where the Lord was spending company with children, and it was just really nicely done, and it was very endearing and so on. And here he was teaching with the children and in the company of children, but they were otherwise unaccompanied by adults, which I thought what they should have thought that through a little bit more. There should have been a mom or two, or a granny or granddad or two on hand with these children around him, because it seems as if they were coming to him to spend time with him in his little encampment outside the town. And it was just a little bit odd. There were 2 things I remember now that it just stopped me in my tracks with The Chosen. I thought, you needed a bit of advice when you're dramatising these scenes with a bit more. I mean, they were nicely done otherwise. Again, it's not so much a complaint, but just little reservations with it. So, like all these things, you sort of have to take them as they're presented and see what you think. Certainly, it makes for far more wholesome viewing than any amount of other trashola, any other garbage that's on the available to watch. You have to be very selective nowadays, sadly, with what you allow yourself to see. It's not so easy because stuff is just pumped at us from every possible source. But it's worth a look. So let me know if you have another view on it or another take on it. The Chosen, it's called. Again, it's a series, a sort of biblical series, and it's trying to record, the Lord through the Gospels with I won't say a contemporary sort of take on it, but trying to fill it out a little bit more. So whether or not it complies or marries itself in, or dovetails maybe with Catholic spirituality and teaching and doctrine, for me anyway, remains to be seen, because I've seen so little of it. So apparently you can watch it through an app. The first couple of seasons I think are available on YouTube, but then you download the app and you do it that way. So notice they're making themselves independent of the more popular video channels. And I think it's a free app that you just download. And if people want to donate towards it, then that'll help it along. So the season finale of season 2 ended apparently with the Sermon on the Mount, and that recently aired on Sunday night. So okay, they're coming to the end of season 2, and they're obviously working on and have funding for season 3, and will be aiming towards the season 4. There you go. And that's just delightful that there should be such an interest in matters of faith, and that it should be funded again by viewers. A bit like the radio here, the same. Amazing thing. So just a quote from Eves. Who's Eves? Now, if I can see, I suppose one of the producer. He's executive producer, Daryl Eves, told Catholic News Agency. He said they're committed to 7 seasons of filming, covering many events throughout the Gospels, from the crucifixion, resurrection, and the beginning of the ministry of Peter. For us, it's going to be grind for the next 5 to 7 years of just trying to make this happen. The series will discontinue at the end of the Gospels. Well, I hope they'll feature some of the early church, surely. We want this to flood the world. We want this to get out to 1 billion people, so 1 billion people can experience an authentic Jesus. Well, fair play. We'd have the same ambition. We want to preach the gospel to the ends of the earth. The show has been translated into 52 languages, and staff are working on more translations. We want to get it out to the people so they can watch it in their own native tongue. And it's just proved very popular. So it's evangelical Christian produced. And Eve said that Catholics have been involved as advisors for both seasons of The Chosen and have participated in the discussions around the scripts. Well, that's good. Hard to know, though, I say difficult to get the pitch right there. Anyway, just to share that with you, if you're looking for some viewing right there, there's a possibility or a thought too. Oh, look at the time, look at the time, look at the time. It's escaped me again, so no time today to attend to our ongoing conversation in relation to mission. But that's a missionary idea right there, because again, if you have something that's novel or something new or something that conforms with the contemporary culture by way of video or audio, again, using the means of media that we have at our disposal today, then that's being missionary. So right there, wanted this to get out to 1 billion people. That's a wonderful ambition, so absolutely marvellous. So we indeed will certainly have the same ambitions too, to reach many more souls, and to that end it's to you to whom we're indebted, and to you to whom we look to continue your kindness in letting others know about the gift of Radio Maria, and yourself being missionary, being actively missionary. Chat to others, tell them about it. It's actually a nice approach because, you know, people can take or leave a radio station. They can switch it on or switch it off as they wish. And so it's not, again, a preachy approach in any direction. So it just makes it a very attractive message in that way. So thanks for your company. Thanks for being with us. And God bless you all. And I'll be with you, please God, again for Chatechesis live, certainly on the video tomorrow with God's help. But there's lots of lovely programs to follow for the rest of the day. So it's heading up to 12 o'clock now. Thanks to Jerome looking after me there at the mixing desk today. Eva's on hand there as well, I see. We'll pause now. We'll listen to our Angelus bells, return with our Angelus prayer and the midday prayer during the day. God bless you. We'll talk to you tomorrow, please God. Now, what's going on here?